Okay, moving down to coordinates. Now, if you remember from some of the previous videos, I probably discussed the beak and the corner trying to make a perfect right angle. Now, coordinates will be the way that we do that, amongst using it for other things. But coordinates are basically a way to have precision over your RageSplines above and beyond just tweaking with your mouse. So I'm going to turn this on, and it's going to seem a little intimidating, but it's actually very easy to understand once you go through it and play around with it. So let's just go ahead and select, I'm going to go ahead and make this game view. As you can see, I have it's not showing up in the game view because I had drug the RageSpline out into my scene, but that doesn't really matter right now because we're just going to want to pay attention to what's going on in this scene. So let's go ahead and turn coordinates on. Now you'll see there's a local and world. Now the only difference between local and world, if you've come from a 3D modeling background, this is pretty self-explanatory, but it is basically where it's getting the coordinates from the object itself locally or from the world coordinates. So right now we'll just you'll notice if I just, the only difference is when I check this off, some of these numbers down here, you'll notice that they change. So we're just going to stick with local just to keep things easily. Just to keep things easier. So just right now, don't get too nervous about what you see here. I'll go ahead and just explain that now, just to get the fear out of the way. So basically, these rows and columns you see represent the coordinates of these individual points here. So when I grab this point here and I move it around, notice what happens, what values are changing. Look right down here. These values are changing. So these are the values of the x and y of this point. So it's pretty straightforward. And just common sense will tell you that pretty much this entire, all the values in this row here all pertain to this point. So if moving this point around changes these numbers, what changes these? So these are, again, self-explanatory. It's the handles in and the handle out. So if I move this handle in, you'll notice what numbers are changing along the x. Right here, these values are changing. And I can, if I move them up and down, you'll notice, if you pay attention as I move it up and down, pay attention to these two rows, those two columns, you'll notice that those values are changing. So this is just another way to numerically adjust these points to be more precise. So now that we've gotten that out of the way and seen that it's really not that that monster that we would imagine it to be, we can go and discuss the rest up here. Now, actually, really quick before I do that, you'll notice that if I, for example, create a new point by double-clicking, notice that now we have a new row that's been created. So that's pretty much that. Oops. Let's undo there. Accidentally deleted the whole spline. Just wanted to delete just that point. So let's go back up to the top. So now if you worked with Illustrator or 2D vector packages before, I'm sure you've probably come across a grid. So we'll just go ahead and turn that on. And what a grid does, it just allows us to have a better idea of where points are in relation to each other, if they're lining up. And the benefits of the grid are that you can snap points and handles to this grid. But before going down, we'll just look. So we have this grid shown, and you'll see here that it's right here, and you can change the color of the grid. Just of course, depending on your backdrop, maybe something easier to see. Right now, I'm going to keep it as this white. And this grid size does exactly what it says. It changes the size of these boxes here, of the grid itself. So larger number, larger boxes, but if you need more precision, you're going to want to have smaller boxes. So we'll just leave it something around there, around 2.5. And the expand grid, you'll notice that the grid stops a little bit outside of this RageSpline. So if we wanted to, we could just expand it and have it go completely off the screen. So in case you need that for some reason, you're working with a larger object or parts are going off the screen, you can expand your grid so that you can work with it and those other points. So that's expanding the grid. And what I pointed out earlier is the snap points to grid, which allows these points to snap to basically the intersection of these lines, which is very good. And snap handles to grid allows these handles to snap to these points. So if you want them not to, you would just check these off. Now, coordinate inputs, that is just gets rid of all these rows and columns here of these inputs. So if you don't need to see these, you can just check that off and they go away, and it's not so scary anymore. So quickly to fulfill the promise I made earlier about showing how to make a rectangle or a perfect corner so that you would be able to make a square shape or a perfect 90-degree angle. All you would need to do is we'll go into here and we'll go to this corner, change it now to beak. So all the corners will be beaks, and I will go ahead and change this point by selecting it, pressing N. I can go and bring that up here maybe. And I can grab this bar and I can bring this down. Now I can grab this point, for example. Go ahead, let's make that also. There we go. And I can now bring this over and it will snap. Bring this point up here. And you get the basic idea. So now we have a perfect right angle, versus before we're not really sure. Do I have a right angle? Do I not? Now using this grid and this snapping that the coordinates gives us, the power that this coordinates gives us, we're able to make those perfect sharp angles. So now you could create those stair steps and things like that much easier than just guessing. Things can be created perfectly now. So that is it for coordinates. And again, we discussed world versus local. Not that big of an issue. All that's changing is these values here. So now moving on, we will work our way down and we will talk about styles.